Welcome to Heads Up HR, the podcast from QuestCover, bringing you the latest HR insights, legislation updates, and practical advice to keep your business compliant and your people supported. No jargon, no stress, just advice you can actually use, and the chance to be part of a workplace community that's learning and growing together. Hello and welcome back to Heads Up HR for the first episode of 2026. Hope you've all had a wonderful Christmas and New Year. I'm joined today by a familiar face, I would say, or voice on the podcast, Miles Day, our Head of Business Development. Hello Miles, how are you? Did you have a good Christmas?
Fantastic, thank you, Perry. It was very good, very quiet, very peaceful.
That's what, not rowdy and you know.
After a busy 2025, needed a breather and it was great. Just family round, it was super.
Yeah, that's nice. I'm glad to hear it, Miles, glad to hear it. It's nice to just have a little break as well, isn't it, from the crazy world of HR and health and safety. It's nice to have a little stopgap. But we are now back in 2026. It's time to get back down to business.
We go again.
We go again, as always. So this episode, I wanted to kind of touch upon the proposed legislation changes coming into effect this year, or supposedly coming into effect this year. More focus on April 2026. There's more in kind of lined up for October, but that may change. Things change all the time. Yeah. And just kind of have a little talk about them and what Quest can do to support in these areas coming up in 2026, how it will impact businesses, just general discussion on it.
Yeah, more than ever. This year, we're anticipating significant changes, and it's really important that especially SMEs are aware of what the responsibilities are. This is a great sort of way of letting people know that these changes are coming, because you only know what you know when you run a business. Yeah. It's very rare that you understand what your HR responsibilities are. And
especially as well, because I feel like, since the Employment Rights Bill got announced way back, whenever it was, I'm not sure on the date off the top of my head, but there's been a lot of talk about it, a lot of coming and going. So it's hard to kind of keep up with it. These things have been floating around and now they're actually going to be coming to fruition.
Yeah, it's been a legislative roller coaster that we 1 minute we've got certain areas that are changing. No, they're not. It's going back between the Lords and the House of Parliament and House of Commons, and then it comes back again, and it comes back again in a different version. So it's even for us, and it's what we do.
Yeah,
it's been difficult to monitor. So for somebody who is not involved in it, it's going to be a real challenge.
But that's where Quest comes in for those who don't have the time or know how to navigate these changes. So I've got a list here of upcoming changes expected in April 2026.
Are you going to do it like a top of the pops, Perry? In one, we have no.
It's a little bit before my time.
Okay, sorry.
I would do the reference if I knew it.
Okay, carry on.
And one is day one rights to paternity leave and unpaid parental leave. So new employees will no longer need a waiting period or a service length of working before qualifying for those rights. So there's going to be a big onus on businesses. Whereas before, if they hadn't worked for sort of 6 months, 2 years, I think it was actually, then they won't be able to receive that. But now, from day one,
that's right. It's a big change. It's a financial commitment to the business.
Yeah,
and it's also obviously a document change.
And it's going to be tough because I imagine it would be hard to say you brought in a new employee, and then the next day they say,
absolutely, and that's going to be a really difficult conversation. So you're going to need to have that conversation properly as well.
Yeah.
And people, it's not a conversation. We do get calls to the advice line, and sometimes it's how do we deal with this prior to somebody starting? You can't.
Yeah.
It is very much a case of from day one. Again, don't know exactly what it looks like as you will hear multiple times when we're talking about these things. But it will come into play.
And as you say, the advice line is that, because I think a lot of the guidance that we kind of have in previous episodes and discussions with Hema, it's the conversation with the employee is the most important part. But it's all well and good saying, talk to your employees, communicate with your employees. Sometimes it's difficult for employers to know how best to broach those topics. So I think the advice line is always a good place to start for guidance on how do I broach this conversation, how do I approach it. In a similar vein, one of the other pledge changes or expected changes is similar, statutory sick pay is also becoming available from the first day of sickness.
Absolutely.
As opposed to the previous limit. And
3-day wait.
The 3-day waiting, yeah. And the current lower earnings threshold will also be removed, so that will expand the eligibility to more workers. Yeah. So again, it's another financial hit for businesses.
Absolutely. In a time which they've just, last year, NI increase.
Yeah.
Minimum wage increase
going up again in April.
Yeah, absolutely. And now an awful lot is falling on the employer. You know, it will have a big impact. You need to be planning for the increased spend, and from a HR point of view, change of contract.
Yeah.
To show this, to reference it, most contracts have the 3-day wait.
Yeah.
So you do need to make sure that you're updating your documentation.
It is a big change,
yeah.
Yeah. So if there's other changes, kind of more smaller changes that perhaps people could have got away with not updating their contracts and handbooks for, these changes definitely do require some level of update. And again, Quest can support with that, whether it's through the advice line. We do offer consultancy and document tailoring.
Absolutely. We can either do it as a one-off piece of work for you. It's not something we're pushing.
No.
Because obviously the one-off piece of work to update your documentation...
You'll need it again in October. Absolutely. When more changes come in, yeah.
And then again, probably later on in the year. Yeah. So but we can do that for you if you just want to do it as a one-off piece of work, or alternatively, you can come on board and we can become responsible for keeping it up to date for you. So as it drops in, we can look after you. If it applies to you, which it probably will, then we'll keep you up to date. And get you where you need to be as it changes, which is really important.
And now a word from one of our partners.
We're proud to partner with Quest on this episode of Heads Up HR. East Midlands Chamber are passionate about helping businesses grow with confidence, and that includes making sure employers have access to the right HR and health and safety support. Through our partnership with Quest, our members can tap into expert advice, resources and guidance that make managing people simpler, safer and smarter. Heads Up HR help businesses across the UK do just that. To find out more about how East Midlands Chamber supports businesses like yours, just go to emc-dnl.co.uk.
Yeah, I think it is that reactiveness, because as you say, when the changes, because it does tend to kind of be not last minute, but the finalised version of actually what employers will need to put into contracts and things like that comes quite close to the deadline of it's in now. It should be there. So
we get a good idea, a really good idea, and then all of a sudden this is what it finally looks like. You need to tell everyone and update everybody. Yeah, that's a challenge for us as a business, but that's what we're here for. But if you try and do it on your own, that would be very, very difficult.
Yeah. So one of the other changes coming is that the maximum protective award for employers who fail to consult properly and collective redundancies will double. Now, obviously, there's a lot of businesses, unfortunately, going through. We've seen a big increase last year and probably expecting to see a lot of calls relating to redundancies this year. A lot of businesses having to go through redundancies, but obviously with collective redundancies and the protective award doubling from the current limit, it's going to be even more important to be getting redundancies right next year.
Absolutely, and that's all. I would say it's the same thing as I said many years ago, and I still say it now, but it's magnified. It's not what you do, it's the way that you do it that you're judged by at tribunal. And so very, very often people have acted what they think is correctly, but ultimately, when it's put in front of a judge, imagine you're in a tribunal, which nobody should ever want to imagine. Imagine you're at tribunal. It's that piece of, have you followed the correct steps and processes to reach the outcome that you've reached? If you haven't, you're more than likely to lose. That's where professional help comes in. Yeah. Big firms are fine. They've got their own H department, their own HR director. They're fine. It's the smaller businesses that we anticipate will be hit by things like this because they need to restructure. So guess what? There's usually a financial issue, and then you don't want to follow those steps, have those difficult conversations with staff, exit staff, and then find yourself in a situation where you could potentially lose a tribunal because you haven't followed the right steps, and that's the risk with something like that. Yeah.
Equally, there's so we touched on this in the last episode of the podcast with Hemmer, but we talked about the Fair Work Agency, a new enforcement body that is to be established, consolidating various enforcement powers for pay, leave, holiday rights, and all these kind of things. A positive, in a lot of ways, is what we discussed with Hemmer. Is giving more protections for employees, which I think, a lot of these changes are employee focused, and and it's great. And I think we touched on this in the last episode as well, is that I'm sure employers want to be able to meet all these things. You want to give employees those pay rises, all of these things, but at the end of the day, it is a cost to the business, and the business has to figure out how to navigate those, and it has to be done in a way that protects the business. If you're not protecting the business, you're not protecting the employees at all. In the end,
it's the good of all over the good of one sometimes, and that sometimes gets forgotten, or I feel, and it's very personal, but that sometimes for the good of one, are you risking the good of all? That if that business does close because of the financial pressures, is that for the good of all, in the fact that there could be 20 jobs that are at risk now, and because of the increases in cost, and also the increases in legislation. But that's a bit more of a personal thing from me.
Moving on to
sorry,
no, it's good. I mean, I do agree on a personal level as well. I think it's a balancing act, and it so often is in the HR world. It's a balancing act between what's right for the business, what's right for the employees, and you want to strike that right balance. It's a tough one. It's as with anything, it should be the catchphrase of the podcast. It's a tough one, but it really is. It really is. Aside from that, there are also reforms to trade union recognition and balloting. So the process is going to be simplified, with electronic workplace balloting permitted. So allowing employees easier access into unions, which obviously protects employees from being, kind of treated unfairly by their business, but also could be a concern for some businesses, whether they're doing things right or not. There are some concerns surrounding that.
I think it's going to open up more businesses to union involvement.
Yeah.
And as such, that can be, again, if you have a HR department used to dealing with unions, fine.
Yeah.
If you're an SME with maybe 50 staff and you don't have a HR department and you're not used to dealing with the unions, that can cause challenges for the business owner, who may feel as though he's got everything right, but maybe hasn't. And then he's now got union involvement. So again, it's something where the old days of just doing somebody's contracts and handbooks seem a long way away.
Yeah.
We'll just update your contracts and handbooks and that'll be fine. We think that's going to change quite significantly moving forward. We saw it at the end of last year, and we now pretty much know that's going to change quite significantly.
I think the only other big change I've got on my list here is that they're also going to be strengthening whistleblowing protections, including making sexual harassment a recognised protected disclosure for whistleblowing. So it's always been important, to treat whistleblowing carefully, to not punish those who raise or flag issues, but with even stronger protection surrounding that.
Yeah,
even more
quite supportive
pressure.
of this. I think that's needed. There's on the health and safety side, lives can be lost if you get health and safety wrong. Without that safety net for an employee who perhaps sees something that shouldn't be happening, either directly because the owner of the business knows about it, or indirectly because he doesn't know about it. The risk to the business is huge. Not only the safety of the employee, but the risk from a fine point of view with the health and safety executive. Fines are based on the turnover of your business. You actually want that whistleblowing to occur. Now, ideally they come to you, but if they feel they can't, maybe there's a tier of management between you, the owner, and the employee, and it does go to the HSE. You want to make sure that employee needs to feel safe and secure in the fact that he's allowed to do that, because we see, maybe it's because of what we do, but the HSE posts that we see on LinkedIn where somebody's lost their life, been disabled, whatever it may be, we all should go home from work. And but again, it doesn't have to be. Just an example I use because that's part of what we do. But it's really important that the strengthening of the whistleblowing legislation is brought into play. I'm really quite supportive of that side of things. Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of covers the key updates for 2026. I did say that we're probably not going to cover the ones in October, but there is
one in particular that I want to talk about. So that's proposed extension of time limits for bringing employment tribunal claims.
Yeah.
It's proposed for that to increase from the current 3-month limit to 6 months. So that will mean that people have, from when an incident occurs that they can report to tribunal, they will have 6 months rather than 3 months, doubling the time that they can bring that claim forward. Should we expect a big increase in the number of cases being brought to tribunal based on that?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we will have that increase. We're going to see a huge increase across the board. We think that as an employer, you're probably waiting for that 12 weeks to come through. If you've had a difficult exit, you're probably waiting for that 12 weeks at the moment. Now you're going to have to wait longer.
24 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a real challenge. And also it gives employees time to sort of go away and really look into what's gone on and to see whether there is. So there are good and bad areas of it. And like you say, if you look at it from an employee's point of view, you've got a longer window.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's 12 weeks. It's pretty short. It's pretty short. But I think as an employer, I think you will be putting that date in your diary, and now you've got to put it even further away than what you currently are. Yeah,
absolutely. Aside from that, there are also some kind of new statutory rules on banning unfair fire and rehire practices. I think that is we're unsure what the final things are going to look like on that. It's going back and forth in the House of Lords. But then also that there will be the tightening up around sexual harassment legislation for employers to take all reasonable steps rather than just take reasonable steps, all reasonable steps. Now, what that looks like exactly, again, because it's still a way off, we don't know, but it will be more comprehensive than what the current requirements have been.
What I'd say to everybody on that is, are you where you should be right now?
Yeah.
We still do, as you know, we do the one-to-one compliance review. Still an awful lot of businesses out there who haven't done their sexual harassment risk assessment, haven't updated their policy, haven't done the staff training that should all link together. So really what I'm saying there is use this window to get yourselves to where you need to be right now, and then be ready for the next. But you don't want to be taking 2 steps, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't want to be taking 2 steps when you should have already done the first step a while ago, April. You should already be there. But that's really challenging. Third-party liability is really, really challenging, and it's something that a business needs to take seriously, especially with the further changes that are coming as well later on down the line.
And I should say, probably even further tightening up down the line as well.
Yeah,
we just don't know, but so I think that kind of covers all of the key changes that are coming up. We are going to be running webinars on legislation changes. We always do. So we'll have one this month, January 2026, 21st of January 2026, from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. If you want to come along, completely free to attend. Just check us out on social media at QuestCover, or check out our website, questcover.com, for information on the webinars. Aside from that, we also do ones, I should say, around April and around October. We will be doing ones specifically because that's when we'll have the kind of more final ideas of the legislation as well. But in the meantime, what can people do to prepare for these upcoming changes?
The first thing I'd say is book in for your compliance review.
Yeah.
Most businesses that we talk to, we look after over 80,000 chamber members and association members. When we do the compliance reviews, there are areas that need updating already.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, it's ones that they're not even aware about, is it? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, I've got a sexual harassment policy. Okay, when was the last time you updated it?
Yeah. When did you last do a risk assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. Have you done a sexual harassment risk assessment? I didn't know I had to do one.
Yeah.
So it's really important that the first instance, more than happy, whether you're an association or chamber member or not, book in for your compliance review.
Yeah.
And that's the first step to us having a look at what you need, because we're very much a needs-based organisation.
Yeah.
We have support services that we can put in place for you that will do a lot of this for you, and take the pressure off. Let you focus on running your business. Let's have you focused on what you train for, what you're good at, what your people are good at. Let us do what we're good at. Let us do those elements for you and grow, and give you the time to focus on growing your business.
Yeah.
So we can do those, or alternatively we can just do, like I said, one-off pieces of work. I'm leaning towards the support packages simply because prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
Cure is, and undoubtedly with us and anybody else, cure is more expensive than prevention. Let's get you in a good place. Let's manage situations from day one.
Yeah.
When we end up trying to dive into a situation and things have already happened, that's much more difficult.
Yeah, it's harder to fix things that have gone wrong than
keep things
put
on the right
protections
path
to stop them from going wrong in the first place. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so absolutely. They range from 2 to 3 staff, very, very simple, straightforward support services, all the way through to more robust services that include training. We have systems that you can take from us that will help you manage, monitor, and record your activity with staff. So there's so much we can do. But because we're so needs-based, the first step is always the compliance review.
Yeah, to find out what you specifically need, because it's not a one-size-fits-all approach that we take here.
Never.
So definitely, head to questcover.com. There'll be a button in the top right for you to book your compliance review. So definitely recommend that if you want to get a good lay down of where you're at the start of 2026. We'll go over the changes that are coming and where you need to be getting up to. As we say, completely... no obligation, completely free to book into those one-to-one reviews. So I would absolutely recommend that if you're unsure where you are or just want to check that you're moving in the right way. I think with that kind of
brilliant
wraps us up. We're running out of time quickly. So it's been brilliant talking with you, Miles. A lot of changes to come this year, a lot of tough changes for businesses, but definitely things that, as scary as they seem, we can
get you there.
Help every step of the way. Absolutely. So, thank you for joining me for this current episode. So, thank you for joining me for this episode of Heads Up HR, Miles. I'm sure we'll have you back on again in future episodes. But for now,
look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all for this episode of Heads Up HR. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to follow and share the podcast, and we'll be back soon with more HR updates and insights from QuestCover.